Welcome back to another episode of Real Estate Stories. We've talked in the past about how you know your home is overpriced. But you know what? What if it's underpriced? Hey, Mason, let's teach people today about some signs that their home may have been underpriced.
All right.
So, yeah, we've talked about overpriced, right? We talk about how does the market respond by the number of showings? How does the market respond by the lack of offers? But you could take that same information and you could flip it. And now you might say, maybe my house is priced a little too low. So what would be those signs, Mason, that your house may be a little underpriced?
So probably one of the biggest ones is pretty noticeable is if we're getting 110 to maybe 120% over the asking price. That's huge. If the house is 200,000, you're getting 220, 230, 240, even 250. We could be underpricing that house.
Yeah, that's a good point. So in this market, when we look at the data, most homes, not everyone, but most homes are still showing, or I'm sorry, selling for over the asking price. And we can actually run reports that show us percentages of last list price to ultimate selling price. Got that? List price to selling price. So if it's a $300,000 house and it's sold for $330,000, that would be 10% over the last list price. So that's important data for us. So we find that a lot of homes are selling for 100 to 105, 108, but sometimes we see more. So to your point, sometimes that is a sign. If the offers are coming in excessively over that typical range, it might be a sign that it was priced too low. Maybe a sign. There's some other factors at play here too. But what else besides price, when we're receiving those offers on a particular listing, might there be a clue that the home is underpriced?
Appraisal gaps. That's a huge one. What we see is when people are offering that insane amount, the 110% over and the biggest concern is it going to appraise if you are financing it? If they're offering you 230 when the home's on the market for 200, is it actually going to even appraise? So we see a lot of that too.
Right. So we've had other videos, guys. If you look back on our channel under the category of videos for buyers, we talk about how to make your offer stand out, and probably a few different videos. We talk about appraisal gaps are in there, right? People waiving inspections or home inspection deductibles, right, are at play as well. And I think one of the things that we didn't even talk about is, what if you get 15 offers in a weekend and they're all, or most of them are all really, really high up, not within that normal range per se of 100 to 107, 108% ish. If they're all like, 110 to 120%, could have been a little underpriced, right?
Yeah.
So there's still a lot of that going on in the market, but we have to temper that, because here's the thing. We also know that in our service area, as in many areas throughout the United States, we're still experiencing low inventory levels. So, if I want a house, this is what's at play also. If I'm shopping for a house right now, and let's just use that 300,000 as a number, and I'm qualified to buy it, more than qualified, let's say. At the end of the day, most of us are thinking in terms of a monthly payment, right? Most people here in the United States think in terms of monthly cost for a home or for a car, right? The two biggest purchases most of us make, right? So if I could afford the payment at 300, that's great. But if the mortgage company says I'm actually qualified up to 400, I might offer 330, 340 if I really want that house, right? If I believe that that's the right house for me and my family, right?
Yeah.
Then it's a payment. So if the payment difference is 100, 200, a few $100s a month, I might be totally okay with that. So I think that that's at play here also for a lot of people, because there's not a lot of inventory. So in some neighborhoods that are just hotter than other neighborhoods, if someone really wants the house, like, they'll just come in and try to crush everybody. I'll give you a good example. So we had a listing recently that was listed at I think it was 700. And it went on the market. Very nice house, kind of a rural area, very tricky to comp. Very, very tricky. Not a lot of homes around it, not a lot of comps within a couple of miles. Showed really, really nice, like meticulously, like just like beautiful. Well, we didn't get like on that house because of the location, we didn't get like 25 showings in that first weekend, but we had a handful of showings. We received a few offers. That's a good sign. One of the offers, literally the first offer that came in, that buyer just said 750.
Cash, right?
No, that wasn't cash, but a lot down, 750, a lot down, seller's choice for the closing date. They just wanted to put an offer out there that would just have the sellers not even consider anything else. So they went 50,000 over the asking price like that, just instantly. And I was talking to the buyer's agent about that offer, because it seems like a great offer, like on the first or second day of showings. And she said that this particular family or couple, they've been looking for a home for about 2 years, and they had very specific wants and needs. And this home was just exactly the right house for them. They have the financial wherewithal, and they said, we just want this house, and we don't, it's almost like a knockout punch, right? So it's like you can jab and you can jab, but when you hit, this was a jab would be an offer. The knockout punch is, I'm going to give you 750. You pick the closing date. I'm going to make this really easy for you. I want this house.
It was like let's just knock out all the competition, right? Yeah. And I understand that.
And they know from trying to buy some other houses that they lost out on.
Yeah.
That,
they got beat up a little bit.
They got what?
Like beat up in the market.
Yeah, they got beat up, right? They lost a few homes. I call it broken heart. They had their heart broken a few times. And they didn't get some of these other homes that they fell in love with. And they probably tried hard, because obviously these folks have financial wherewithal. And in this case, they just wanted this house. They were probably really tired of looking. There's not a lot of homes that suit their needs. Yeah. And they just said, I just want this house. I don't care about the extra $50,000. Now, not everybody's in that position, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's going to be different price points, different types of financing, different everything. Humans are infinite, our situations. So it comes down to so the question is, was that house underpriced? I don't think so, right? I
think it was just a crazy buyer in this market. You do have those just buyers that just don't care, I guess. Yeah. The professional saying it,
Yeah, and the other offers that we received were closer to the asking price range or the percentages that we talked about. So I didn't think, so in actuality, as a percentage, it wasn't a crazy offer, right? Because if it's a $700,000 house, if it was 10% or more, the offer would have been 770 or more.
So they were like 8%.
But it feels higher than that. Like, when someone's throwing an extra 50 grand out, you go, oh, wow. They package that offer in a way to make it very appealing to the sellers. So I guess kind of like to wrap this, it's not always clear, did you or we or anyone underprice a house? There's so many factors at play between the lack of inventory and buyer demand and seasonality that it can be difficult to interpret. I had another buyer interested in another house in the area recently. It was listed for around 7. And when we went to make the appointment, you couldn't even schedule it. Literally, it was sold out for the whole weekend. Showing started on a Friday, and literally there was 1 or 2 slivers of time slots left between Friday and Sunday of last weekend. So I'm like, wow, crazy.
Areas. Depending on the area, it's that more desirable area probably than your listing was,
Yeah, exactly. Same price point, a different area, different school system, different amenities. Arguably, the first example was a nicer house, but a different area, not for everybody. Further from the highways, further from shopping, more rural. So in general, not as appealing in some ways in the area that we service, but for the people that it's appealing to, it's amazing, right? Exactly. It's absolutely phenomenal home with tons of privacy. So I guess there's no way to know for sure whether it's overpriced or underpriced. But here's the moral of the story, guys. The market's going to tell us. If we overprice it, the market tells us. If we underprice it, the market tells us.
Exactly.
Thank you for watching.
Thanks, guys.